MMA Boxing Talk here. This is a prediction video for Jose Aldo versus Frankie Edgar, which is taking place on Saturday, UFC 200. Phenomenal card. I mean, it is the best card by far. Now, this is a very, very intriguing fight. These two have fought back in 2013. It was February 2013. So, it's 2.5 years ago they fought. Talk about both fighters real quick. Jose Aldo, was undefeated for 10 years. Lost to Conor McGregor recently, in December. And, he's been very dominant his whole career. But, we did notice, in the last 2-3 years, he's not quite the same Aldo. And, he's definitely nowhere near the same Aldo that he was in the WEC. But that's going back 6 years now that he's been in that he hasn't been in the WEC. But regardless, Aldo's been, he's known for just winning decisions and coasting the last few rounds. We saw in the first fight with Frankie Edgar, Frankie won the last 2 rounds pretty decisively, and Aldo definitely won the first two. And the third one, I mean, you really could have gave it to either guy. It was a very close fight, Frankie's face was all busted. But, I mean, you can't always judge marks, how marked up your face is. Frankie also had a few takedowns. And, it was a good fight. It really could have went either way. It could have been a draw. It really could have been a draw. But it's not crazy to, because Aldo got it. I know some people think it was a robbery. I don't know if I go that far, but I would maybe say it could have been a draw, But anyway, this fight is very different, though. Things have changed dramatically since 2013, Jose Aldo, first of all, is coming off of a KO loss. First time he's ever been KO'd. I'm almost positive his first loss wasn't a KO. Oh, he got submitted, but only McGregor is the only guy to ever KO Aldo. We've never seen Aldo come back from a loss, since he's been a champion. So we don't really know how he's going to react, and hopefully, he'll be the old Aldo, or at least the same Aldo that we saw in the last Chad Mendes fight. That was a great fight, but the shots that Aldo took in that fight with Mendes, it was a fight of the year, by the way, UFC 179. The old Aldo would have never taken those shots. He got, Mendes hit him a lot. And anyway, I just feel that Jose Aldo is not quite the same as he once was. And Frankie Edgar is right when he says this. Frankie is the best he's ever been, and he hasn't shown any signs of slowing down. And this is probably the worst Aldo, This definitely has to be the worst Aldo, coming off a KO loss, and very close fight with Chad Mendes, the one before that, So, but Frankie Edgar, let's talk about him for a minute, because he's been on a tear, He's on a 5-fight win streak, and he's just been beating some big-name guys, Charles Oliveira, BJ Penn. Now, of course, that was an older BJ Penn. Great fight against Cub Swanson. I mean, he just, performance of the night. It was a great fight. And he beat Uriah Faber very soundly. And he stopped Chad Mendes in the first round. That was back in December as well. So, Frankie, he's on a roll. His confidence has never been better. And I think it's going to be a tough fight for Aldo. It's going to be a tough fight for both guys. But I'm picking Frankie Edgar in this one. I can't see Aldo stopping Frankie unless Aldo just throws that conservative fighting style, fighting not to lose. If Aldo throws that out the window, then okay, sure, he might get the KO. He might be able to stop Frankie. But, after you've been fighting that long, that same way, it's tough to change, and I know Aldo's been saying that he's changing his style. He's back to the old Aldo, and he's going to go for the finish. And maybe he will. Maybe he thinks this is the only way I can be a champion again. I have to go back to my roots. But Frankie Edgar's a tough guy. He can take a shot, and his cardio is just so much better than Aldo's. Frankie Edgar is in that top echelon of cardio. With the Nate Diaz brothers, the Michael Bisping. Guys like that have tremendous amount of cardio. The old Cain Velasquez. Frankie Edgar's right there with them, and he can go. He gets stronger as the fight goes on. And in their last fight, 2013, 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago now, Aldo, he looked pretty tired even after the second round. He was breathing out of his mouth late in the second round. And that's a younger Aldo. That's an Aldo that's 26. Now he's 29. He's coming off of a KO loss. So that's gonna hurt him mentally. You know what I mean? Even if he believes he's in a better place now, and he's McGregor's still on his mind. He just is. He always says it. He wants McGregor. And obviously he's got the belt, so of course it only makes sense. But I just think the circumstances are so much different than the first fight. I gotta go with Frankie Edgar. Now it's gonna be a close fight. It could really go either way. But the one thing I noticed too is Frankie Edgar, when he was lightweight champ, and then he lost his title to Benson Henderson, and then rematched him. He lost twice to Benson Henderson. And the second one was a split decision. Frankie easily could have won that fight as well. So Frankie moves down to 145, and he gets thrown in there with Jose Aldo right off the bat. And I guess that's all. It's right because he was a former champion, but Frankie was coming off of 2 losses. It's because that division was so weak at that time, and Aldo had pretty well almost cleared it out, or pretty well did. So they gave him Frankie. It was a big fight. But Frankie didn't have the time to get his body acclimated, have a few fights against top 10 opponent, but maybe not the champion or the top 1 or 2 contenders. They could have given him one fight like that, but obviously they didn't. And but this time around, things are a lot different. Now he's been at featherweight for all that time, and he's on a 5-fight win streak. I really got to go with Frankie in this one. But I can't wait to watch it because the first one was good. But I'm telling you, if Aldo slows down like he did in the last one, which he very well could, Frankie just has to do a little bit better in the first 2 rounds, and he's gonna win that fight no problem. So in their last fight, Edgar lost the first 2 pretty clearly. The third was pretty close. Well, it could have went either way. And then the last 2 he won. Like I said, if he does better in the first 2 rounds, which and Frankie said he gave him too much respect in the last time. He started off the fight giving Aldo too much respect. This time he's not going to do the same thing. So all these reasons. That's why I got to go with Frankie in this one. But this is a crazy fight. And people are picking Jose Aldo. That's fine. Fuck, he was undefeated for 10 years. He beat Frankie in their first one. So I just can't wait to watch this. I think it's going to be a really scrappy fight. Both guys, they can't afford to lose. Frankie cannot afford to lose. He wants to become, he wants to get the belt. But it is what it is. And Aldo, he can't afford to lose either. 2 in a row. He'd never get the title again, chances are, if he loses. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. This is a crazy fight. I didn't think this video would be that long, but lots of history, between these two, and a lot has changed since they last fought in February 2013. Let me know what you guys think. That's it for this one. Peace.